Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make this dress, this butterfly bottom part dress with ruched by the side. So first you're going to start with the top part. I'm going to be using Akara for mine, but guys, it would be better to use a fabric that drapes easily, like crepe fabric. Or even satin can still work. So guys, this is my bodice. So the first thing I did is just to fold it into two. I'm starting with the top part, so I'm just going to cut a basic bodice here. So the one on the thumbnail looks like a top and a skirt, but I'm going to be making mine into one dress. So the first thing, I've folded the fabric for the top bodice. So the width I have here is just bust measurement divided by 4 plus like 1 inch of seam allowance. So the bust I'm working with is 42, divided by 4 is 10.5, plus 1 inch is about 11.5. So you're going to go up here, insert your shoulder measurement. I'm working with 16, divided by 2 is 8. And then I'm going to come down here by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. And then after that, I'm going to insert the armhole I'm working with, which is 18, divided by 2 is 9. Mark that here. And then I'm going to connect it all the way to the top. Give it a curve here for my armhole, and then come here, insert my basic neckline, which is 3 inches is what I'm using. After that, connect it to this part here for your shoulder slope. And then I'm also going to go ahead for the waist. I'm going to be working with waist of 35 divided by waist of 35 divided by 4. That's going to give me, so guys, I'm working with waist of 34, divided by 4 is going to be 8.5, plus extra 2 inches of seam allowance. So, 2 inches, 1 for seam allowance and 1 for darting. So, for my darting, I'm just going to come in here and divide your nipple to nipple by 2. So that's 4 inches on this line. And then my dart is going to stop 1 inch before the bust line. So my dart here is going to be about 6 inches of length. Mark it in a straight line, half an inch on each side, and then connect it this way. So this is going to be my breast dart, but in the meantime I'm going to connect the waistline to this side here. So now at this point I'm going to start here, cut this out, come in here, go up this way, the shoulder slope. So guys, this is what I have for the front neckline. I'm just going to come down by about 3.5 for the front neckline, or you can do 3 inches, so whichever one you want. So I'm going to just do about 3 inches here and then connect it this way. So this is going to be my front neckline here. So guys, if you look at the neckline, you will see that it has a slit in front. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down 1 inch from this basic neckline, and then in between here I'm going to come in about, like, let's say 5 inches down. It depends on you how much opening you want yours to be, and then I can go in here by like about half an inch. And then I'm going to just connect this here down to this point, just like this. So I'm going to just cut this part out. So guys, this is basically what I took out from this on a fold. So this is what it looks like, and I cut it out. So if I open it, I'm going to first of all trace the back, then I'll show you guys what it looks like when it's open. Guys, now that this fabric is this way, I folded another the fabric again to cut the back panel. So I'm going to make sure that I have about 1.5 inch between at the center back, so that will be my zip allowance, because this is going to have a zip. So you see this fabric is folded again. I'm placing this here. So now I'm going to trace out exactly the same pattern by the side. So guys, you see I finished up the back panel. So I'm just going to split open the back now. And as you can see, I also brought it down by 1 inch for the back neckline, because if you look closely, you see that the front is 3 inches, but the back is like 1 inch down. So that's my back neckline. So another alteration I like to make at the back is just to come up here by about 1 inch. This helps my zip to relax better. So I just come up here by 1 inch at the back, and then I connect it all the way from the edge here this way. You can use your ruler to connect it, just to shorten the back a little bit, so that your zip can relax. Also, the same place I placed this dart in front, I'm going to notch it so that I know that this point is where my dart is also going to be, even at the back. So at this point is where I'm going to have my dart at the back, but the dart at the back is going to go up all the way to the chest line, which is somewhere here, but the one in front stopped 6 inches from the end here. So Also, don't forget to cut out about, so the length of your sleeve. So on your armhole from the beginning to this point, I have about 9 inches here. So center of that 9, half of that 9 inches is going to be 4.5. I'm going to come in here by half an inch and then connect it with a straight line from the top and then with a curve to the bottom here. So I'm going to cut this out. This is just to help your sleeve to relax better. So after this, now we'll cut the sleeve before we cut the skirt part. So guys, now I'm going to cut my sleeve. So all you have to do is I'm going to come down here by 4 inches and then mark it in a straight line across, and then I'm going to mark, so just make sure that the fold you have here is just your armhole divided by 2. So I'm going to connect from this end to this end now, and then the next thing is halfway through. I have 11 here. Half of 11 is 4. Half of 11 is 5.5. Sorry. I'm going to go ahead and connect from here to here and then connect from here to here. So give it a curve below, a curve above, and then the next thing is the sleeve width here. I'm working with the sleeve width I'm working with is 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. Mark that here. Also add 1 inch for my seam allowance and then connect it. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut out this end here. I'm also going to go ahead and cut from this part just like this, and I have my sleeve. So guys, this here is going to be my sleeve, so I'm going to set that aside. So now we are going to cut the bottom part. So guys, this is what I'm using for the skirt part. So as you can see, I've cut out what I need. The length here is about just below the knee. So the length I'm using here is from the waist down below the knee, like mid knee, mid calf. So that's like 28. Sorry, that's 27 plus 1 inch of seam allowance is 28. But you need about 1.5 inches of seam allowance because you need to mark half an inch here for the waist part. So you're going to mark half an inch all the way here, which you need because we are making a dress. So you need half an inch at the waist here to be able to attach it to the body of this hair. So the next line you're going to mark now is your waist. Your waist to your hip, so which for me is about 10 inches here down here. So guys, also remember the length of this here. The plan is to make this a short ruched skirt, but you know you can make yours longer because the longer the fabric is, the more you can ruche it up more. So but this is an Akara fabric, so if I use a lot of this here, it's going to be bulky because remember Akara fabric has starch. But if you're working with a crepe fabric or any fabric that is lighter that can drape easily, then you can go further and use more length so that when you ruche it up, it won't be puffy. But this is the lightest of all the Akara fabric I have, so I figured I could get away with this. But just know that if you're working with Akara fabric, the more length you're using, it might start looking bulky instead of relaxing and giving you that ruche effect. So now what I'm going to do is just to insert the waist measurement I'm working with. The waist, like I said before, is 34 divided by 4 is going to be about 8.5. So I'm going to mark that. This is not going to be having any dots. Then coming down to the hip I'm working with is 48 divided by 4 is going to be 12. I'm going to mark that here. And then to the bottom part, I'm going to also bring down that hip measurement here. So now you're going to connect these two in a straight line here. So guys, also remember this this excess that you have here, you can just use your hip measurement divided by 4 plus what you want your ruche to be. You can use 6 inches because I want mine to be 5 inches, but I added 1 inch to be able to fold the rough edge. So 5 inches is what I'm going to have after I use 1 inch to fold this here. So you can use, if you want 6 inches, then add 1 inch to it, it will be 7. So it depends on you what you want yours to be. Whatever ruche you want to have here, the length, just divide your hip measurement by 4 and then insert the amount you want for your ruching and then extra 1 inch to be able to fold this edge. So that's basically what I did here. Now you're going to connect the waist to the hip. And then after that, the measurement that I have here, which is 6 inches, I'm also going to bring it and mark it here. 6 inches, 6 inches, just to get that curve, just distance of 6 inches away from here, just like that. And then I'm going to just bring it down this way. So now at this point, try to make your chalk visible because you're going to be sewing exactly on this line. So after that, now I'm going to go ahead and cut this part out. So guys, now that I've marked this here, I'm also going to extend this hip line to this point, this 1/2 inch to this point. And as you can see for the back, I also marked chalk on the right side of this fabric to determine the 1 inch of my zip allowance here, or 1.5 of zip allowance. So now that you've marked this here, you see I've cut out this part. All I have to do is to turn this thing around again on the other side, and instead draw out these same measurements that I have here. I'm going to draw them on this side. So guys, as you can see, even for the back, after I marked out my 1/2 inch for my zip allowance, then I also insert the same measurement, but this time I started with after the line, of just replicated the same measurements I had on this front panel here. So my hip measurement divided by 4, I insert it here, and then the same measurement I brought it down to the hip, so that when it reaches and goes up to your hip, it still maintains the same measurement, because you know this part of your hip is wider than this lower part here. So then I also have my waist measurement. So now all I have to do is I'm going to go ahead. I have this chalk on this side. I also drew it out on this side because I'm sewing on the outside of this cloth. So I'm going to go ahead and split open the back for my zip allowance here. And then now I'm going to place this front panel on top of it so that I can notch the waist part. So guys, this 1/2 inch is what we are going to use to join it to this part. So this here, I'm going to just notch it. And then after that, I'm also going to fold this edge up to this end, fold the rest of this here. So just like this, I'm going to fold it this way and sew it down. Even at the lower part here, I'm going to sew it down, everything. Just like how you normally fold your clothes this way, I'm going to fold it up till this top part here also, except this 1/2 inch that I need to join this to this. I'll do the same thing on the 2 sides of the front and the 2 sides of the front and the 2 sides of the back. Keyhole, this is how I'm going to turn it inside out. I've made a stitch all the way around, and then I also placed a fabric this way and then made a stitch all the way around. So now I'm going to split this inside and tuck it in. So guys, I cut out the center again, following the initial line that I had before. So now this is the front. You see, when I sewed this down, I made sure to use the wrong side out, so the 2 right sides are facing each other. So now I'm going to tuck this inside, and then I'm going to top stitch it. So guys, you see what it looks like. I still have to iron it, but this is what it looks like right now. So you can bring yours down further if you want to, but this is what mine looks like, and this is the inside. So you see, I'm just going to go ahead, iron it, and then I'm going to just tuck in these edges here and sew it down so that the inside would also look clean. So tuck this in, sew it down, trim this one shorter, because this top part here, it doesn't matter, because this top part here, I'm still going to, when I use bias to finish up the neckline, these edges here will be inside of the bias, but this other side here, I'm going to sew them down just to hide the edge of this, so that the inside of this cloth will be clean. So in the meantime, I'm also going to add my dart on the 2 sides of this front here where I notched it, join the shoulder, join the sleeve, and then sew my skirt too. You can see this is what it looks like. So I've also gone ahead and made my stitch here, 1 stitch and then a second one. So I have an opening in between here all the way to the end, and then also at the top here. So I'm going to be using rope here because this is not mine. So I'm going to be using rope here so the person can be able to adjust it, but you can just use elastic. The only thing is, at the top of this here, you're going to sew down the elastic, and then at the very end here, you're also going to sew the elastic, but you're going to use like a shorter version of the a shorter elastic, not a long elastic. So but what I'm going to do for this one now is, from this end here, I'm going to pass this rope all the way to the top part here. Once I get to the top part here, I'm going to sew it down. Remember, it's going to be going inside of this line. I'm going to sew it down so that once I pull it up, once I pull this rope here, I can be able to just tie it once like this. Just tie it once this way. So I'm going to do it on both sides. Pass it to this top part here. Once it comes up here, I'm going to sew it down. And if you look up here, you will see my 1/2 inch here. This is where I'm going to use to attach the bodice. As you can see, my bodice is also done. This is the neckline. I'm going to be attaching this here to this part here. So you see, it's exactly the waistline on this here, and then this is what the neck looks like. I've also done my finishing with bias. So once it's done, all I have to do is to put the zip at the back. So this is the top bodice here. You see the keyhole neckline here, and then also this is what it looks like right now. So there's also the skirt part also has the opening for the zip. I've joined the two sides of the back together and did the same thing. So this here, this is what the side looks like. This is the part that is going to give me the ruche when I'm done. So let me say what I have to do now is, first of all, I'm going to pass my rope into this casing on both sides, and once I'm done, I'm going to just take this the way it is now and then join it to the body of this dress. I was saying, after your first stitch on the line that you made the chalk for as your side seam, you're going to move in 1/2 inch into the ruffled part and then sew it down just for the elastic or rope, whichever one you're using, so you can make the casing. So see this side now, you see what it looks like. When I go to sew it down, all I have to do is just make a stitch on this, like a zigzag stitch, cut off the excess, and then I know that once I pull it down, it's not going to come out. If it's elastic that you're using, sew it down here, sew it down here, but I'm using a rope, so I'm just going to sew it down on one side. So you see, if I pull this side too, this is what it's going to look like. So this is what the ruching is going to look like, and then I'm going to just go ahead and put in this top part here, join it to the waist. You see what this is going to look like now. So join it using this 1/2 inch that I have here, join it to this part here, and then I'm going to have my zip at the back. So that's basically what this dress is going to look like. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Bye.